It wasn't long ago that Google's augmented reality system, codenamed Tango, was confined to a huge tablet that felt every bit as experimental as the idea behind it was. Last year we saw the first consumer Tango device release in the Lenovo Phab 2 Pro, a phone that featured mid-range specs and a massive build, but brought Tango to life on a smaller, more manageable device. Summer 2017 is bringing us the next evolution of Tango in the form of the Asus ZenFone AR, a product that brings not just one Google ecosystem to the table, but both the combination of Tango's augmented reality with Daydream's virtual reality. Hey everybody, it's Nick from Android Headlines, and this is our review of the Asus ZenFone AR. Right off the bat, it's pretty clear what Asus' marketing strategy for this phone is. Given that the name goes straight for the main feature, we know for certain that the standout features of the ZenFone AR are its Tango and Daydream capabilities, but what might surprise you are the sheer number of features found throughout the software. Build-wise, this one is pretty pedestrian in all but the back. The front more or less looks like every other Android phone in existence, and there's even little to distinguish the phone from most sides. A physical home button that requires a press is up front, and a USB Type-C port and 3.5mm audio jack are on the bottom, alongside a single bottom firing speaker that's actually really good sounding. Inside is a Snapdragon 821 chipset that's been optimized for Tango, and you'll find a few main versions of the phone out there as well. There are two GSM unlocked units. The first is $599 for the one with 6 gigs of RAM and 64 gigs of internal storage, or $699 for an upgrade to 8 gigs of RAM and 128 gigs of internal storage. US carrier exclusivity goes to Verizon, a rare occurrence for Asus phones, and retails for $649 with 6 gigs of RAM and 128 gigs of internal storage. All models come with Samsung UFS 2.0 storage. The back is not only curved, something we don't much see nowadays, but is also clad in 2014-esque pleather, giving it a substantially better grip than most 2017 phones. All the magic is inside that all-metal clad tri-cam housing though, and it's here where we'll be spending the bulk of our time with the ZenFone AR. This housing, as the name suggests, holds 3 different types of cameras. One main 23-megapixel shooter with tiny 1-micron pixels, a motion tracking system with a fisheye lens, and an infrared camera that can sense depth. Also housed in this module is a second-generation laser autofocus module, as well as a dual-tone flash. The combination of these sensors are what bring the Tango ecosystem to life, and ultimately what enable it to not only track motion and perceive depth, but also to help learn the physical area the phone is in and how it moves around that area. As you might have seen in our other Tango review and feature videos with the Lenovo Phab 2 Pro, Tango is an incredible technology that can measure real-world space, and unlike other augmented reality systems, actually keeps objects in those spaces as you move around. It's this spatial awareness that makes Tango so unique, and ultimately significantly more useful than any other augmented reality system out there. Apologies ahead of time for the lower quality of some of these Tango recordings, as Tango is incredibly process intensive and the phone dropped the quality of the recordings in the middle. You may recall Microsoft's Minecraft AR demonstration from a while back using the HoloLens, and a very similar experience can be found right on the ZenFone AR with MakeBox AR. It's pretty cool to see these objects in real-world space, and the performance difference between the Snapdragon 600 series processor in Lenovo's Tango phone and the Snapdragon 800 series processor found in the ZenFone AR is definitely palpable. Ever wanted to see what the Matrix code-based world looks like and walk through it in your own setting? Tango accurately maps the code on objects scattered all throughout, although there's definitely some distance limitations here. Google's got plenty of cool little projects here too, from measuring the distance between points or the volume of any object, to little shooting galleries that might remind you of a carnival game. There's lots of fun little things to do. BMW has even jumped into the fray, allowing you to virtually tour 2 of their latest vehicles with real-world scale. You can get inside these cars, walk around them, check above, underneath, any of the dashes and the gauges. It's really cool to feel like you're inside of this car. Or you can even check out the Gap's latest clothing line and see what they look like on a real-scale dummy model, giving you a better look at these things than pictures of video online would. It's these more commercial or industrial settings where Tango seems to excel, and while there are a few games that are fun to play for a while, the really useful apps are more along the lines of home decoration and product previews in your space without having to go to a store. Is Tango worth buying the device alone though? Not really. There's just not enough content, but now that there's a second Tango device on the market, we might see the development development uptake happen. So what about Google Daydream? Mobile virtual reality has been mostly pinned down by Samsung with its Gear VR, and while Google Cardboard is cute, it's pretty much useless for most situations simply because there are no standards to how apps need to run. As we said in our Daydream View review last year, Daydream changes all that and brings a real virtual reality standard to Android that's OEM agnostic. So as long as the phone meets the rigorous standards of Daydream, and boy does the ZenFone AR ever, you'll be able to use it. Starting with the screen, which is a 5.7-inch Quad HD AMOLED panel, Asus made sure to pick one that's got incredibly low persistence rates and response times. With a persistence rate of 2 milliseconds, pixels refresh their properties almost instantly, and the response time of 1 millisecond means that the individual lighting of AMOLED pixels happens even faster. All this combines for VR experiences that are at the top of the charts, with no visible blurring or ghosting, keeping motion sickness to a minimum for folks that are affected by that. The Daydream platform as a whole has grown marvelously since our review at the tail end of last year, and while it's not nearly as content heavy as the Gear VR's Oculus Store, Google has done a fantastic job of not just courting content providers to deliver on apps and games, but also offering tons of exclusive content as well. As a whole though, the platform is simply not as full-featured as the Gear VR. There's no real ability to take screenshots or video, or even stream your experience like you can right in the Gear VR interface, and there are other annoyances like having to take your phone out of the headset just to accept permissions, whereas Gear VR lets you do that right in the interface. Google is bringing a massive update later this year though to coincide with Daydream 2.0 standalone headsets, but for now the actual platform itself is pretty light on features. Still, the experiences you'll find here are nothing short of fantastic. A robust market of constantly updated content awaits, and Daydream's ability to automatically adjust the position and focus beats the Gear VR's irritating manual focus stuff by miles. I also don't get headaches and eye ache in Daydream like I do on the Gear VR, something that's going to differ for each person, but overall is better as a hardware solution for me. There's dozens and dozens of games and apps that have been added since the beginning of this year, and tons more to come with that big Daydream 2.0 launch later this year. Pretty much everything else on the phone is amazing too, and scrolling through the untold number of options and features here makes one wonder, what in the world didn't Asus put into this phone? Just about every feature you can think of is here, from the always-on screen to a vibrant theme market, manual controls for the display properties and color reproduction, built-in DTS Headphone X 7.1 virtual surround sound, there's a mouthful, lots of gestures and screen-off quick launch features, and even a kids mode to lock the phone down. Asus ships the phone with a clear plastic case and a tempered glass protector too, meaning you don't have to buy a single thing to keep your phone doubly protected out of the box. Even the camera's great and borders on fantastic in some situations. Those 1-micron pixels are tiny though, and at least on auto, the low light results tend to turn out pretty dark, but thankfully they've got a low light mode that will pop up automatically when the phone detects a very dark situation. This mode significantly increases the light amount in the scene to say the least. Asus 4-axis OIS keeps the phone steady too, even with long half-second exposures, and in general I was super impressed with how well this did in photo mode. Just don't zoom in with the low light mode though, as the camera links pixels in an effort to absorb more light, bringing the effective resolution of the shots down to 5 megapixels from the usual 23 megapixels. Video stabilization could use some work though, as the built-in electronic stabilization was pretty shaky. It's not bad 4K video by any means, but other phones at this price range offer better stabilization and better quality overall. All in all, it's a good shooter, and while it's not necessarily the best one on the market, when you take everything else into account, the ZenFone AR is one seriously attractive package. This isn't quite as budget-friendly as many of Asus' other phones, but it goes toe-to-toe with most flagships in most areas, and offers functionality that no other flagship on the market does. Is Tango worth getting for the phone alone? No, but take everything else into account for $600 and compare it to what else is out there, and you might just find that it is worth it. We hope you enjoyed that review and will subscribe to us for weekly content. Chat with us in your favorite social media outlet, and don't forget to check out AndroidHeadlines.com for 24/7 tech news coverage. Thanks for watching, and until next time.